Good morning. My name is Harry Borders, and I am very proud to serve on the board of Hand in Hand. This morning I want to tell you the story of a woman that I met in Belize in September of this year. I was fortunate enough to go to Belize with a group of friends to work on the new Fowler Community Center. And while I was there, I was talking with Nadia, who is in charge of our HIV/AIDS program for children in Belize. And I asked her if I could ride along with her and Nurse Leah as they go to the families of the children that have HIV that are unable due to their circumstances to come to our center. So if they can't come to us, then we go to them. And while I was there, we met with a handful of families, and they all had great stories of success. They all struggled, and they all had stories of success until the last house. And at the last house, at the last visit, there was struggle, but there was most certainly no success. There were only broken hearts and shattered souls. The last visit was with a kind-hearted, yet heavily burdened grandmother named Carlissa. Carlissa had two daughters, one of whom was Danny, and Danny lived with Carlissa and Carlissa's three grandchildren. Well, in May of this year, Carlissa woke up to the sound of her youngest granddaughter screaming and screaming and screaming. She rushed into the bedroom where she was sleeping to find that her daughter Danny had died in the sleep. Carlissa soon learned that Danny had actually died of AIDS. But the stigma in Belize is so bad that Danny couldn't even confide in her own mother that she was sick. Had she been able to do so, she would be alive today, but she couldn't. And because Danny had died of AIDS, Carlissa knew that she needed to have her granddaughters tested for the disease. Carlissa was further heartbroken when she learned that her youngest granddaughter, Meaghan, age 6, had in fact tested positive. Now Carlissa is dealing with the death of her daughter, facing the reality of having to raise her three grandchildren on her own, and dealing with the medical issues of a child with HIV. The adversity in this family was relentless. The look on her face as she described her situation was probably the saddest, most pain-filled face I'd ever seen. I had to try so very hard while sitting on that couch not to just crumble into a crying, sobbing mess. Carlissa then told us the story of how Meaghan, every single night, cries herself to sleep, begging for Jesus to bring back Danny one more day so she could hug her and tell her that she loves her. But that's their reality. Now, of course, Hand in Hand will walk with Meaghan every step of the way to make sure that she stays as healthy physically and emotionally as possible. Without for Hand in Hand, Meaghan's fate would most likely be the fate of her mother. In all honesty, this was probably one of the more difficult things that I've ever witnessed in my life. The poor woman was trembling as she was telling her story. Now, I have a tendency, when I'm confronted with pain, to escape it, to run away, and to hide from it. There was no running that day. It was horrible and heartbreaking and crushing to hear her story. But eventually I did get up and I got to leave. And I got to go back to my little world. I'm not living their life and I can't fathom having to do so. And yet so many others share this exact same story and this exact fate. While I escaped the physical confines of Carlissa's home, I cannot and I will not ever forget her story. Ever. And I will fight for the rest of my life to prevent this story from repeating itself over and again. Now, as painful as it is to hear the story of Carlissa and her family, the bigger picture of children with HIV in Belize is so much more inspiring. As you may know, Hand in Hand Ministries provides the only organization in the entire country of Belize that takes care of children with HIV or AIDS. When we started our programs back in 2004, Every single one of the children that came to our daycare or preschool, every one of them were infected by or affected by the disease. Every one of them. Now in 2015, we've got 39 smiling, happy faces that come to our center every day. Of the 39 kids, one has HIV. One. The World Health Organization estimates that 45% of children born from HIV-positive mothers will in fact be born with the disease. 45%. However, Hand in Hand Ministries has succeeded in reducing the risk of mother-to-child transmission from 45% to 2%. How? How is it possible that we've done this in such a short period of time? By identifying and engaging the pregnant mothers with HIV, by providing support, education, and options for these women, by validating their importance and gaining their confidence as they live in fear of being ostracized by their community or even their families if it's discovered that they have the disease, by ensuring that they take their medicines and providing nutritional support for them. Simply put, by walking their troubled paths with them. That's how we reach the support that we've gotten and the success that we've gotten. And that's what we must continue on with. We must. But in the meantime, we still have a lot of work to do. We've got to educate women like Danny to prevent them from transmitting the disease to their daughters. And we need to take care of the Meaghans of the world and make sure that their story is not repeated year after year, family after family. We intend to get there, and we know that with your support, we will in fact get there. And that's what this morning is really all about. Continuing the progress that we've made in Belize, and in Nicaragua, and in Appalachia, and here in Louisville.